There's a moment, just before the storm hits, stillness. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is about to. We live in a world that glorifies speed. Fast answers, hot takes, quick reactions. But let me ask you this. What has reacting ever truly given you? Has it brought you peace? Has it made you stronger? Or has it, more often than not, left you feeling like you gave your power away? If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment of it. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. This is a video about power, but not the loud kind. Not the kind that slams fists on tables or fights to be heard. This is about the kind of power you don't see coming, because it's quiet, because it's calm. It's the strength of the one who breathes before they speak, who listens when others shout, who holds steady while the world trembles. That kind of strength doesn't come by chance. It's trained, crafted in silence, refined in discomfort, and passed down by those who walk through fire, without letting it burn them from the inside. This is Stoicism, and its most powerful voice. A Roman emperor, soldier, philosopher, Marcus Aurelius. So if you've ever wished you could stop overreacting, if you've ever wanted to respond with grace instead of regret, if you've ever felt like your emotions were pulling the strings, then stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand what calm really is. You'll know how to live it. Let's begin. Part 1. The Mind Under Fire. Why we react. We don't just react. We snap. Think back to a moment when someone said something that cut deep. A careless comment, a dismissive glance, a raised voice. Before you even realized it, your chest tightened. Words leapt from your mouth. Maybe you slammed a door, maybe just shut down. But something took over. You didn't respond. You reacted. This is not weakness, it's wiring. You see, the mind isn't just a calm observer, it's a battlefield. And when we feel attacked, the ancient systems inside us light up like a war zone. The amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm, starts screaming, danger, defend, destroy. That's what it was designed to do. Back in the wild, that fight or flight reaction kept us alive. But today, it can ruin a conversation, a relationship, even a career. The trigger is outside. But the explosion happens within. What's powerful to understand is this. The situation, the insult, the look, the stress, is just a spark. The fire is already inside us. It's how we interpret the moment that determines whether it smolders or erupts. Marcus Aurelius said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. We've become addicted to speed, especially emotional speed. Social media trains us to comment before we think. News cycles demand outrage. Even in personal life, silence feels like surrender, and anger feels like control. But here's the truth. Reaction may feel like power, but it is not strength. True strength is the space between stimulus and response. The pause, the breath, the choice. Emotion without awareness is chaos. When you feel hurt or provoked, it's easy to believe the emotion itself is the problem. But emotion is natural. It's part of being human. The trouble starts when we let emotion drive. It's like handing the steering wheel to a toddler, full of energy, zero judgment. That's when we crash into regret. And that regret, it's the echo of a reaction we didn't choose. Reason doesn't disappear. It just gets drowned out. Even in the heat of the moment, your rational mind is still there, whispering, "This isn't worth it." Take a second. Think it through. But that voice is quiet. And in a world that rewards volume over virtue, it's easy to miss it. The goal isn't to shut off emotion. It's to hear reason above the noise. A story to remember. Imagine you're walking down a crowded street. Someone bumps into you. No apology, just keeps moving. Your heart rate spikes. Do you yell? Do you chase them down? Or do you stop, breathe, and ask yourself, is this worth my peace? That moment right there is the crossroads between reaction and response. Every reaction leaves a mark. Think of all the times you've regretted what you said in anger. Not because you were wrong, but because you gave away your power. You let someone else's behavior determine your inner state. That's not stoicism, that's surrender. Stoicism teaches us to reclaim that space, to meet life's punches not with fists, but with stillness. The battlefield isn't out there, it's in here. You're not fighting the world, you're fighting the urge to let the world control you. And every time you choose not to react, every moment you step back instead of lashing out, you're winning a war most people don't even know they're in. Lesson of Part 1. Calm isn't the absence of conflict. It's the refusal to be ruled by it. When you understand why you react, you're already halfway to freedom. The other half? Learning how to pause and choose who you want to be, even in the fire. Part 2. Calm is a choice, a trained response. Calm isn't luck. It's built. We often look at calm people and think they were just born that way, as if serenity is some kind of genetic gift. But the truth, calm is crafted, moment by moment, day by day. Like a muscle, it's trained, not inherited. Marcus Aurelius wasn't calm by nature. He was calm by discipline. The man who ruled an empire during plagues, wars, and betrayal didn't sit in stillness because life was quiet. He chose stillness because life was loud. Meditations wasn't just a book. It was his training ground, a daily reminder. You cannot control what happens, but you can control how you meet it. Calm starts before the storm. You don't build emotional resilience in the middle of a crisis. You build it in the quiet moments, the early morning reflections, the journaling, the deep breathing, the times you sit with discomfort instead of distracting yourself. Those are the reps. That's where the inner armor gets forged. You train the pause. Then the pause trains you. At first it's clunky. You mess up. You still react. But over time, with intention, you stretch the space between the trigger and the response. And in that space, you plant something stronger. Awareness, discipline, compassion, the ability to choose calm, not just fall into it. Calm is not passive, it's powerful. People mistake calm for weakness. But calm is presence under pressure. It's standing still in a world that wants you to spin. Anyone can scream. Anyone can slam a door. It takes strength to breathe, to observe, to hold the line, not just against others, but against yourself. Ask yourself, what am I practicing today? Every emotion you indulge becomes easier the next time. Every calm response makes calm more natural. You're always training something, either your reactivity or your response. The only question is, which one are you rehearsing? Stillness is a skill, but it's also a lifestyle. If your life is chaos, your mind will be too. So choose your inputs carefully. What you consume matters. Who you talk to matters. The way you start your day matters. You can't fill your mind with noise and expect peace to come out. Protect your peace like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, imagining the worst, not to scare themselves, but to prepare, to remind the mind, yes, this might happen, but I will not be shaken. It wasn't pessimism. It was rehearsal, so that when the trial came, the mind would say, I've seen this before, and I know who I'll be in it. Calm begins with curiosity. Instead of reacting with, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this moment asking of me? That question shifts your energy from defense to growth. It's the question of a warrior, not one who fights to destroy, but one who fights to remain whole. You are not your first impulse. That sharp retort, that racing heart, that rising anger, they're all just echoes of old patterns. You are deeper than that, more spacious. The real you exists in the second response, the chosen one, the higher one. And that self, the calm self, is always within reach. Lesson of Part 2. Calm is not a talent, it's a decision, made over and over until it becomes instinct. Until it becomes you, you don't find peace, you become it. And every day, in every challenge, life asks you one simple question. Will you react, or will you respond? Part 3. The Art of Silence. Power without volume. Silence is not absence. It's presence turned inward. In a world addicted to noise, silence feels unfamiliar, even threatening. But silence is not the absence of power. It's the container of it. True silence isn't empty. It's full of intention, awareness, and clarity. It's the moment you stop speaking so your soul can... Marcus Aurelius often spoke through what he didn't say. The most powerful passages in meditations aren't the loud ones. They're the ones where he pauses, reflects, holds back. He wasn't trying to impress. He was trying to understand. He knew the real battle wasn't out there in the Senate or on the battlefield. It was inside. With his own impulses, his own ego. Silence doesn't mean surrender. It means control. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can argue. But choosing silence in the face of chaos, that's mastery. It doesn't mean you're weak. It means you've risen above the need to be loud. Your strength no longer requires validation. It speaks for itself. Through your stillness, there is power in restraint. When someone insults you and you don't fire back, that's not losing. That's winning in a higher dimension. Because in that moment, you've proven that someone else doesn't get to choose who you are. You do. And that choice, to remain unmoved, calm, deliberate, that's the mark of an inner warrior. We live in an age of reaction. Silence is rebellion. Scroll through your phone and you'll see it. Outrage, hot takes, arguments. Everyone has something to say. But not everything needs a response. Sometimes the wisest move is to step back, breathe, and say nothing. Because silence, when chosen with clarity, is not avoidance. It's elevation. Let your silence make them wonder. You don't have to prove your value. You don't have to win every debate. Your energy is sacred. Your peace is expensive. And sometimes the most profound message you can send is, I heard you, but I choose not to lower myself to match that frequency. Silence is where clarity begins. When the world gets loud, that's your cue to go inward. Not to escape, but to realign, to ask, what do I actually feel? What matters here? What's beneath the noise? That inner dialogue, that quiet audit of self. It's how you reset your compass in a storm. In silence, you learn what's real. You start to notice the difference between urgency and importance, between what's pressing and what's permanent. In stillness, you separate the reaction from the truth. You get honest with yourself. And you begin to hear the only voice that matters, the one within. Use silence as a weapon of wisdom. There will be moments when silence is your greatest ally, when speaking would only inflame, when arguing would only drain. In those moments, lean into your discipline. Choose dignity. Let your silence say, I know who I am and I don't need to prove it. Lesson of Part 3. Silence is not empty space, it's sacred ground. It's the place where strength meets wisdom. And when you master the art of silence, you stop reacting like a prisoner and start responding like a king, calm, unshaken, commanding, even without raising your voice. Part 4. Mastering Fear. The Stoic Way. Fear is a natural response, but it's also a choice. In every moment of fear, there's an invitation to step back and choose how you react. Fear, by its very nature, is not something we can avoid. It is deeply embedded in the human experience. But what separates the wise from the frightened is this. The wise understand that fear is not a master. It's a signal that invites us to pause, reflect, and make a decision. Marcus Aurelius didn't avoid fear. He confronted it. In Meditations, the Roman emperor repeatedly spoke of fear, not as something to be avoided, but as something to be examined. Fear of death, fear of judgment, fear of failure. Yet, in his quiet reflections, he consistently reminded himself that these fears were illusions, distractions. His power wasn't in being fearless, but in recognizing that fear could never control him unless he allowed it to. Fear is often a product of the mind's imagination. The mind can run wild, conjuring up worst-case scenarios that, more often than not, never come to fruition. We fear things that haven't happened, that might never happen. In Meditations, Marcus encourages us to differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. Fear often lives in our minds, not in reality. When we take a moment to reflect, to breathe, we see that the true danger often lies in the story we tell ourselves about what might happen, not in the event itself. To master fear, you must be willing to face it head-on. Stoicism teaches us that the only way to truly master fear is to face it. Not with avoidance, not with denial, but with understanding. When we confront our fears directly, they begin to lose their power. We realize that the unknown is often far more terrifying in our minds than it is when we experience it firsthand. Like any challenge, fear can be dismantled when we bring it into the light. The Stoic approach to fear is rooted in control. Fear thrives in uncertainty. The more we try to control things beyond our reach, the more we are subject to fear. Marcus Aurelius urges us to focus only on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, our responses. We cannot control the future, nor the opinions of others, nor the inevitable challenges life will throw at us. But we can control how we prepare for them. We can control how we respond to the unknown. This focus on our own sphere of control is the foundation of Stoic fear management. Fear loses its grip when you embrace impermanence. Another essential truth that Stoicism offers us is the understanding that everything is temporary, including fear. Whether it's the fear of losing a loved one, the fear of failing at work, or the fear of public speaking, the Stoic mindset helps us see that these fears are fleeting. Even the most terrifying of experiences will eventually pass. Everything, good or bad, changes. By internalizing this truth, we are able to reduce the fear that often comes with attachment to any specific outcome. You are not your fears. Fear can be deeply personal, especially when it involves self-doubt or a fear of judgment. But here's the Stoic truth: you are not your fears. Fear is simply a temporary feeling that does not define who you are. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that we can choose to separate ourselves from the emotions we experience. You are not weak because you feel fear. You are strong because you choose to act in spite of it. You can acknowledge fear without allowing it to rule you. Practical steps to mastering fear. To practically apply Stoicism in the face of fear, consider the following steps. First, when fear arises, pause. Don't act immediately. Take a deep breath, center yourself, and examine the fear. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that can happen? Can I handle it? Often we find that the worst-case scenario is not as dreadful as our mind has led us to believe. Second, take action. Fear thrives on inaction. When we face our fears, whether by taking a small step forward or by preparing ourselves mentally, the fear loses its power. Lastly, embrace the idea of amor fati, love of fate. This means accepting whatever outcome comes, knowing that it will be part of your journey and growth. In embracing fear, you also embrace the potential for growth and learning. Mastering fear isn't about eliminating it, it's about transforming it. The Stoic approach to fear doesn't suggest we should eliminate fear altogether. Fear is a natural and protective instinct. But Stoicism teaches us that we have the ability to transform our relationship with fear. We can shift from being its victim to being its master. The goal is not to avoid fear, but to move forward with courage despite it. Part 5. Responding to anger. Hold your fire. Anger is a natural emotion, but it doesn't have to control us. Anger is a powerful force, one that surges up in us like a tidal wave. It's often triggered by injustice, frustration, or misunderstanding. But what makes anger dangerous is not the emotion itself, but how we react to it. In Meditations, Marcus Aurelius teaches us that while we cannot always control the emotions that arise in us, we do have the power to control our response. We can choose to hold our fire, to pause, reflect, and decide how we want to react. The impulse to lash out is human, but it's also destructive. When we are angry, the impulse is often to retaliate, to strike back, to make the person who wronged us feel the same pain. Yet, history shows us time and again that this kind of reaction only perpetuates a cycle of hurt and conflict. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that anger is like a burning flame. If we allow it to rage uncontrolled, it will consume us, leaving nothing but destruction in its wake. The key is not to suppress the anger, but to recognize it for what it is, a reaction, not a command. Anger is a reflection of our expectations. Many of the things that anger us are rooted in unmet expectations. We expect people to treat us a certain way. We expect the world to be fair, to be just. But the Stoic wisdom teaches us that the world does not owe us anything. People will disappoint us. Life will be unpredictable. The key to managing anger is to recognize that our anger is a result of expecting life to be different than it is. If we release these unrealistic expectations, we begin to free ourselves from the shackles of anger. The art of holding your fire is rooted in self-awareness. To respond to anger with calmness, we must first become aware of the moment when anger arises. This is where Stoicism's emphasis on mindfulness comes into play. Marcus Aurelius urges us to be vigilant of our own emotions, to catch them before they take hold of us. The Stoic practice of self-reflection, pausing to ask ourselves why we feel the way we do, helps us gain control over our emotions. When we understand the root cause of our anger, we can decide whether that reaction is justified or whether it's based on an illusion. A moment of pause can transform a reaction into a thoughtful response. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to let anger dictate our actions. We may shout, retaliate, or shut down in frustration, but the Stoic response is different. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that, in the face of anger, we must pause before reacting. Take a deep breath. Step back. Give yourself space to reflect. This small act of mindfulness allows you to move from reaction to response, from a knee-jerk emotional reaction to a measured, thoughtful action. In that pause, you regain control over the situation, and you prevent anger from ruling your behavior. Anger often stems from a feeling of powerlessness. When we are angry, we often feel as though we are being treated unfairly, or that we have no control over a situation. This sense of powerlessness fuels the fire of anger. The Stoic approach to this is to focus on what we can control, our own thoughts, words, and actions. By redirecting our attention to our sphere of influence, we shift the focus from what we cannot control to what we can. This shift in perspective is liberating. It reminds us that we don't need to fight every battle, that we can choose to respond with dignity, no matter how others behave. Anger is often based on judgment. Another critical Stoic insight is that anger is often a result of judgment. When someone wrongs us, we quickly label them as bad or unjust. This judgment is what fuels the fire of anger. But Marcus Aurelius encourages us to challenge our judgments. What if the person who angered us acted out of ignorance, or was simply reacting to their own pain? What if they were struggling in ways we don't understand? By questioning our judgments, we take the power away from the anger, and we replace it with empathy and understanding. Letting go of anger creates space for wisdom. When we allow anger to consume us, it clouds our judgment. In those moments, we are more likely to make rash decisions that we will later regret. Stoicism teaches us that wisdom comes when we release anger and approach situations with a clear mind. When we hold our fire, we are able to think more clearly, to weigh our options, and to choose the most virtuous response. Letting go of anger makes room for reason, for reflection, and for wise action. The Stoic practice of forgiveness and acceptance. Ultimately, responding to anger involves cultivating forgiveness and acceptance. The Stoic does not hold on to grudges, does not seek revenge, and does not try to punish those who wrong them. Instead, they practice forgiveness. Not because the other person deserves it, but because they deserve peace. By letting go of anger, we free ourselves from its grip. We accept that people are flawed, that life is imperfect, and that we cannot control the actions of others. The only thing we can control is how we choose to respond. Part 6. Pain into power. Transforming suffering. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. Life is full of pain. Whether it's physical, emotional, or psychological, we all experience moments that hurt. It's an inescapable part of being human. However, the Stoic philosophy teaches us that while pain is unavoidable, suffering is not. Suffering comes from our attachment to the pain, our resistance to the inevitable, and our perception of what's happening. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us that it is not the events themselves that harm us, but the way we interpret them. It's the stories we tell ourselves about the pain that turns it into suffering. The Stoic mindset: embrace what you cannot control. At the heart of Stoicism is the idea of focusing on what we can control. We cannot always control the pain we experience, but we can control how we respond to it. When we accept that pain is a natural part of life and stop fighting against it, we free ourselves from the added burden of unnecessary suffering. This shift in mindset is where transformation begins. By embracing pain, instead of resisting it, we find an inner strength that allows us to endure and grow stronger through adversity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the obstacles we face, the pain, the suffering, can be the very thing that propels us forward, if we allow them to. Transforming suffering into growth. Pain can be a powerful teacher. In every moment of discomfort, there is an opportunity to learn and grow. The Stoic approach to pain is to see it as a challenge, not as a punishment. When we experience suffering, we are faced with a choice: to let it defeat us or to use it as a catalyst for growth. Each painful experience is a chance to become more resilient, to refine our character, and to build our inner strength. Rather than seeing pain as something to avoid, we can begin to see it as an invitation to rise above, to overcome, and to transform. Resilience is built through hardship. Resilience isn't something that's handed to us. It's something we build, piece by piece, through our experiences of hardship. When we face pain head-on, when we allow ourselves to feel it and then choose to move through it, we develop the resilience needed to handle future challenges. The Stoics knew this well. They understood that adversity is not only unavoidable but also essential for growth. In fact, it's through hardship that we are able to discover our true strength. As Marcus Aurelius writes, "The universe is change, life is opinion." Our ability to adapt to life's constant changes, to find meaning and purpose in suffering, is what ultimately allows us to thrive. The role of acceptance in transforming pain. Acceptance is one of the most powerful tools in transforming suffering. To accept the reality of pain is not to resign ourselves to it, but to embrace it as part of the human experience. This acceptance is not passive. It is an active choice to acknowledge the pain without letting it control us. When we accept the pain, we stop fighting against it, and in doing so, we stop adding unnecessary layers of suffering. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that we must remind ourselves that everything in life, including suffering, is temporary. This too shall pass. By shifting our perspective and accepting the temporary nature of pain, we take away its power to dictate our emotions. The power of perspective, reframing pain. One of the most potent Stoic practices is the ability to reframe our experiences. When we experience pain, we often view it as something that stands in our way, something to be avoided at all costs. But Stoics encourage us to reframe this perception. Instead of seeing pain as an enemy, we can choose to see it as a necessary part of our journey, a tool for growth. Pain is the furnace in which our character is forged, and suffering is often the chisel that shapes us into something stronger. By reframing our experiences of pain, we transform them into opportunities for transformation. This shift in perspective is what allows us to turn our suffering into power. Turning pain into power through action. The Stoic way is not about passively enduring pain, but about actively using it to propel us forward. Pain is not a reason to stop. It's a reason to move with purpose. Every painful moment can be turned into an opportunity for action. Instead of letting pain paralyze us, we can choose to use it as fuel for growth. When we choose to take action, even in the face of suffering, we reclaim our power. We are no longer victims of our circumstances, but empowered individuals who have the strength to move through hardship and emerge stronger on the other side. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, a guide through suffering. Throughout his meditations, Marcus Aurelius reflects on his own struggles and how he transformed them into sources of strength. His wisdom provides us with a timeless guide for navigating pain and suffering. He teaches us that pain is not an enemy, but a companion on our journey. It is through pain that we are reminded of our own vulnerability, but also our own power. By embracing pain, by reframing our suffering, and by taking purposeful action, we can transform even the most difficult moments into sources of strength and wisdom. Part 7. The everyday practice of calm, living Stoicism. Stoicism is not a philosophy for the rare moments of crisis. It's a way of life. Living Stoicism means applying its principles every day, not just when faced with adversity. The true strength of this ancient wisdom lies in its practical nature. It's meant to be lived, breathed, and experienced in the most ordinary moments. It's in the choices we make, the thoughts we entertain, and the actions we take on a daily basis that Stoicism reveals its transformative power. By integrating Stoic practices into our daily routine, we can build a life of calm, purpose, and resilience. This is not a distant ideal, but a reachable reality for anyone willing to live by it. The power of mindfulness. Awareness in the present moment. One of the cornerstones of Stoicism is mindfulness, the practice of being fully present in each moment. We often get lost in thoughts about the past or the future, worrying about things we cannot control. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in the present moment. By focusing on the here and now, we reduce the mental clutter that leads to stress, anxiety, and impulsive reactions. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminds us in his meditations to concentrate on the present and to use our energy on things that matter. When we are aware of our thoughts and emotions as they arise, we regain control over our actions and reactions. Daily reflection, checking in with ourselves. Stoic philosophers emphasize the importance of self-reflection. Each day, Marcus Aurelius would examine his thoughts, actions, and emotions, questioning whether they aligned with his values. This practice allows us to take stock of our progress and assess where we can improve. By reflecting on our behavior and reactions, we become more aware of the times we respond impulsively, and we can choose to respond with greater wisdom and composure. This daily check-in is crucial in maintaining a calm and stoic approach to life. It helps us stay grounded in our values and ensures we are moving in the direction of growth. The discipline of self-control, mastering our impulses. One of the most important aspects of Stoicism is self-control, the ability to choose our responses rather than be slaves to our impulses. In our fast-paced, reactionary world, it's easy to give in to emotional outbursts, rash decisions, and hasty actions. But Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies in mastery over our own desires and reactions. This discipline takes practice, but it is essential for living a stoic life. By pausing before reacting, we create space to make more deliberate, thoughtful decisions. Marcus Aurelius advises us to not be led by your impulses but by your reason. With practice, this discipline becomes second nature, and we begin to approach challenges with greater poise and wisdom. Embracing challenges, seeing obstacles as opportunities. Every day brings its own set of challenges, some big, some small. Rather than viewing these obstacles as inconveniences or threats, Stoicism teaches us to see them as opportunities for growth. Life is constantly testing our resilience, and each challenge we face is a chance to apply the Stoic principles of patience, self-discipline, and inner calm. By approaching difficulties with a mindset of curiosity and acceptance, we can transform frustration into learning and adversity into strength. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on how to turn difficulties into advantages, saying, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This mindset shift allows us to embrace challenges, knowing they are shaping us into stronger individuals. Gratitude. Focusing on what we have. Stoicism also teaches us to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. We often focus on what's missing in our lives, what we don't have, what we want, or what's going wrong. But by practicing gratitude, we train our minds to focus on what is already abundant. Marcus Aurelius frequently reminds himself of the things he should be thankful for, even in the midst of hardship. By appreciating the small things, the warmth of the sun, the breath in our lungs, the love of friends and family, we foster a sense of peace and contentment. Gratitude shifts our perspective from scarcity to abundance, helping us to maintain a calm and grounded demeanor, no matter the circumstances. Living with purpose. Aligning actions with values. A stoic life is one that is aligned with purpose, Without a clear sense of direction, we can easily become distracted by the noise of the world. But by focusing on what truly matters, our values, our responsibilities, and our long-term goals, we create a life of intention. Stoicism teaches us that our actions should be in harmony with our inner values, whether it's showing kindness, being honest, or pursuing excellence in our work. Living in alignment with our principles gives us a sense of fulfillment and peace. Marcus Aurelius would often ask himself, "What is it that I can do today to live in accordance with my values?" This question, asked daily, keeps us centered and helps us stay focused on what's truly important. The importance of community. Stoicism is not meant to be lived alone. While Stoicism emphasizes personal responsibility, it also recognizes the importance of community. We are social creatures, and our connections with others play a significant role in our well-being. Stoicism encourages us to be active members of our communities, to treat others with kindness, and to seek opportunities to contribute. By living in harmony with others and practicing virtues such as compassion and fairness, we create a more supportive and harmonious environment for ourselves and those around us. Stoicism is not a solitary practice. It's a way of being in the world, engaging with others in a meaningful and purposeful way. The daily ritual of Stoicism, a life well lived. Living Stoicism requires consistent practice. It's not about grand gestures or occasional moments of insight. It's about the small daily actions that reflect our values and principles. Whether it's taking a moment to reflect on our thoughts, pausing before reacting, or choosing gratitude over complaint, each small action contributes to the larger picture of our lives. Over time, these practices add up, and we begin to live a life that is calm, centered, and grounded in the Stoic virtues. As Marcus Aurelius teaches us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By shaping our thoughts, we shape our lives, and in turn, our lives reflect the calm and wisdom of Stoic philosophy. The final reflection. As we come to the end of our journey through the Stoic principles that can shape a life of calm, it's important to pause and reflect. Stoicism isn't just a philosophy, it's a call to action. It's a way of being, living, and responding, not merely reacting, to the world around us. The wisdom passed down by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, and others isn't something that belongs only to ancient times. It's a timeless guide, relevant in today's world, offering us tools to navigate the chaos and find peace within ourselves. A Stoic life is not one of passive acceptance, but active engagement. Living stoically doesn't mean standing still and passively accepting whatever life throws at us. Rather, it's about taking full responsibility for our responses and actions. It's about using the power of our minds to rise above circumstances, to choose our reactions with wisdom, and to live in alignment with our values. In a world that often pushes us to react with speed, frustration, and impulsiveness, Stoicism invites us to slow down, pause, and reflect. Through this, we regain control over our minds and our emotions, and ultimately, we regain control over our lives. Calm, as we've learned, is not a trait we're born with. It's a skill we develop. It's a skill we cultivate every day through mindfulness, self-awareness, and intentional action. It's about practicing patience, choosing how we respond to anger, fear, pain, and adversity. When we train our minds to respond rather than react, we take the first step in mastering our own destiny. Like any skill, it requires practice. And each time we face a challenge with calm instead of turmoil, we reinforce our ability to stay centered and focused, no matter the storm. Stoicism, in the end, is the path to inner strength. This strength isn't about physical power or dominance. It's about cultivating an unshakable calm amidst life's inevitable challenges. It's about understanding that external events don't control us. We control how we interpret and react to them. In a world that can feel overwhelming, the practice of Stoicism gives us the tools to navigate the noise and chaos, returning always to the center of our own peace. Through daily practice, through the cultivation of self-discipline, mindfulness, and gratitude, we build the foundation for a life of calm and resilience. So, as we reflect on these teachings, ask yourself, how can I live stoically today? What can I do to respond with wisdom instead of reacting impulsively? How can I make the choice of calm, even in the midst of chaos? Remember, the true power lies not in what happens to us, but in how we choose to respond. In the end, Stoicism is about embracing life with all its challenges, while maintaining the strength to respond, not react. It is in this practice that we find true power, a power rooted in inner calm, clarity, and a life lived intentionally. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think or do. Only what you do." May we all live with that kind of quiet strength, guided by the wisdom of Stoicism, as we navigate the unpredictable journey of life.